Hello, everyone. It's Cheryl Millett here, live Mondays. Just due to certain social media networks being down, I'm just doing a direct live here on YouTube. And if you're not familiar with Live at 5, which has been going on for, I think, almost 3 years or more, then we have three components. One component is going to be something completely new or different. The second component is, well, let's talk reality. Let's talk what's in the news. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk about now. And the third component is a little humor, maybe some jokes, some puns. And we have a couple of sources, but that's what we're going to do. So let's get at it. What is the something completely new? Well, I have mentioned the garden project that I've been part of. And one of the things you can plant in your garden that helps, has helped with bugs, helps with there, and you kind of plant them in the middle of the row, at the ends of the row, and that is lovely marigolds. Now, I don't have an actual marigold here, but if you're familiar with what a marigold looks like, I did want to pick one from somebody's garden in the city because what I did with my marigolds is I plucked the flowers out. Now these are the flowers, and so what I have done is I dehydrated them for several hours so then I could make tea with them. And there's other things you can do with them. You can put them in cream. You can do those kind of things, but smells really lovely. You can eat the flowers. And they have a certain aroma, marigolds that you remember. And then this is after you pluck the leaves out, you have what I'm going to call, not necessarily, no, it's not the bud, but it's the bottom part of the flower. And each flower, each petal is attached to a seed. Now, I'm not sure if these are going to be mature enough to grow. I'm going to wait until they dry out completely. But if you're wanting to, I mean, if you don't have any marigolds and you see a marigold and you see an old flower, dried up flower on the marigold plant, you just pluck that off, take it home with you, take off all the dried leaves. You're not going to use those for tea. They are not going to be the same beautiful color as the yellow or reddish or burgundy. It's beautiful varieties within the marigolds. And then once you've taken off all the little petals, it's kind of like fuzzy there, but every petal has a seed attached to it. So you can easily open it up and take out, there'll be like the top part is white and fuzzy, but the seed themselves, not that I'm going to open, I'm going to wait till this dries, but oh, maybe let's see if there's a dark one in. The bottom part will be like a blackish color. So you can't, and this looks like it's got some black ones in, but what I'm thinking is you really do need to wait until the flower dies off in order to get mature seeds. It's the same with many other plants. You just wait. Wow, I'm getting the, I don't know if you can see this, but it's white on one side and blackish on the other side. It's probably a good way to see it there. You can kind of see if I put it against my shirt, you can see it's blackish, but it'll be even darker than that. So again, when flowers come to their end of their that stage of their beauty, then underneath those flowers is typically a bunch of seeds. Rose hips, well, they're inside the rose hip. So it's going to be different. It's like rose hip is the fruit. So you can get the fruits, the seeds are inside. But in marigolds, well, let's talk about benefits. And I wanted to see if my one herbal book actually had anything about marigolds. And then it was like, no, it's not alphabetical. There's no marigold, but they call it pot marigold for whatever reason. I have no idea. And then I also made some notes too, did a little bit of research on marigold. And interestingly enough, if you just think about the color of marigold leaves, the reddish, the oranges, the yellows, then you can think of beta carotene. You can think of orange carrot, beta carotene. So it has all of that, lutein, carotenoids in there as well. And this is interesting. Again, I've talked about this before. I am really trying to tune into things that are local, not things I have to get from Peru, not things I have to get from Asia or anywhere else in the world. It's looking to get our nutritious foods, herbals, medicines right here, right in the place you're in. And here's marigolds. Marigolds grow very well. And the benefits that they commented here in a couple of articles is cleansing, antioxidant, immune boosting, and reducing our temperature, our body temperature or fever. So, and it protects the digestive system. And I wrote down as a little combination here of uses. Definitely talked about, and when we think of beta carotene, we think of vitamin A or preformed vitamin A. Provitamin A. Retinol, well, that's what I have in the seal oil. That is absorbable under the tongue, whereas these plant forms have to be converted. And that's one thing they don't really bring into some of these articles, because a lot of people who have symptoms and conditions have an under functioning digestive system, a dysfunctioning digestive system. So in essence, when I say beta carotene, you can think of eye, yes, skin, yes, all the membranes. Vitamin A is all through the body when it comes to membranes. So eye, very much so. Anti-inflammatory, respiratory, yes, why not? That's a huge inner organ membrane is your lung, and then it helps with irregular menses. It helps with, again, I mentioned cleansing earlier, so thinning the sputum, that makes sense. Boost immune system, well, that makes sense. If it's antioxidants, pro supporting the immune system, then they kind of all go together. Fever, rheumatic, heal toothache. I mean, if it's anti-inflammatory, skin, gums, same thing, right? Cure cough, again, that's around respiratory. Again, membranes, mucous membranes. You can see how all of these come together. Skin infection, good for anemia. So that's the cleansing part of the blood, but also supporting and boosting the beta carotene, and good in insect repellent. I did see that it's being used along other herbals in skin care. So at one level, certain things are an ongoing requirement for our body to be well, and other times you can morph them into medicinal. One of the things that I saw in this book, going back in history, was the prevention of the plague. Marigold was used in the prevention of the plague. And we all know by now, if you're on Live at 5, but it's always worth mentioning, the plague was man-made. It's man-created. It didn't pop up, these viruses. It was man-made because. Why? Because. And it's the same thing for food poisoning and many other things. And if this is extremely interesting to you about how disease happens, then join Awakening You presentation. It's a monthly thing that I do. It talks about the physical, it talks about the root cause of disease, the root cause of all diseases. And I go into what is at fault with the germ theory, what is at fault with the bioterrain theory. Not necessarily fault, but let's just say it's not fully encompassing a simple understanding of all living and microorganisms. Let's just all pile them instead of germs. Germs, we think of cooties, we think of germs. Well, I'm relabeling it microorganisms if I'm communicating about it. So that's marigold, very pretty. So this is going to be for tea. I haven't made one yet. And because we have probably about 30 or so plants at the garden project, I'm going to be taking the dead ones off and holding the seeds of the various colors, and then harvesting a portion of the flowers and dehydrating them and getting them ready for tea. But I'm going to see if there's what else I can make. Again, it's kind of interesting times to do everything and anything. I have to tell you, I picked probably about 4 bushels, 3 to 4 bushels of apples, wild apples, just growing along a railroad track, very near to where my father lives, maybe 20-minute walk. And my cousin, my uncle, and a person we just met, and this is very interesting. A person I just met, he lives 2 doors down from another uncle, and went and visited him a couple of weeks ago. Fabulous guy. He is born in Italy, but he's been over here for 50 years. And garden, beautiful, understands a lot about gardening. But here's something very interesting. He's a hunter. He eats squirrel. Now, have you ever heard of such a thing? It wouldn't, I know in Greenland they eat penguin, that's their chicken, and different various birds, no different chicken, birds, any birds, but squirrel. And he says it's delicious. So stay tuned because at some point I'm going to taste squirrel. He had one cooked and had the leftovers, had some of it on a plate that he showed us in the fridge, and but I didn't want to eat it in front of people who were clicking a little squeamish with the whole thing. But I'm definitely up to trying squirrel. Anyway, that's the marigold. And yeah, I've been busy, so I've been making applesauce. I've been dehydrating a lot more apples. I did peaches. What else did I do with peaches? Freeze-dried peaches as well. Nice, lovely powder. So fragrant because you just keep everything, all the nutrients in there. And I'm just going to turn off. No, I can't turn off this. Anyway, because I was waiting for a call. There we go. No, not coming off. Okay, phone is what it is. Technology, very crazy technology. Okay, I want to show you what else I made today for the first time, but it's not that difficult to make, but it's sauerkraut. So here I have a bunch of, I had small cabbages from the garden project, and there's just no way. It's either make coleslaw, and there's no way I would have been able to eat all of that coleslaw. This is about 3 pounds, 3 pounds of cabbage, and I decided I'm going to make sauerkraut. I'm just going to do that. So that is that. But the something completely new is the marigolds, and that is yeah, a lot of fun and so many benefits for you to actually learn from. So let's go into what's in the news. Now, I think some of us are familiar with the toilet paper issue that happened at the very beginning. The toilet paper, remember, just a little bit of mention in the news, and next thing you know, you have a large, large number of people, or enough number of people that go out, and all of a sudden, it's things are empty. It seems like it's different, of course, and you can hold back certain things. I mean, they certainly have done it in commodities, being a manager of commodities and trading commodities. They certainly have done it in commodities where the farmer can hide the amount of wheat. At the end of the day, if the market, or if you want to say like the wheat, if it's showing that there's less wheat available, then what happens to the prices? They go up. In this case, day and age, we have been seeded to run after the things so that we make sure we have it. So I was listening to a short video, and I think it was Hugo Talks. Shout out to Hugo for all the good work that he does in his research and very short videos that he comes up with daily, regularly, twice a day sometimes. But it's showing that people are lining up at the pumps. All the media, the newspaper showing people lining up at the pumps, draining the pumps, let's call it, and based on what? Because somebody says we are running out of fuel. Is that true or not true? I don't know. But it really isn't something you're going to be able to figure out anyway, because anywhere along the supply chain can things be held back? Can things be in that place where you won't know? You just won't know. And there you go. But everybody's running out, and there's things going on. And then I hear from my husband where he says, yes, we get to see all this news and news media. And at one hand, we want to say it's all blah, 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 blah. But then yet we're choosing to believe certain things. So I hear from him that Yeah, somebody's buddy or whatever, somebody he knows in Australia, they're going to the beach, they're going all out, and they are not familiar with, or maybe not necessarily familiar with, but at least they're saying they're having no issues doing what they're doing and what they describe they're doing. That doesn't mean there's no issues. It doesn't mean that. I mean, even when the lockdown happened and people were told to stay home back in March of 2020, I was going out and walking around. I was pretty dead. I was driving. I could drive. I could drive. Yeah, certain stores weren't open for sure, especially right in the beginning. Things were shut down until they could um, make changes to their business. But I wanted to talk about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, let me just see if I can bring it up, is, I don't know if I have it on here. I really do have a lot of screens coming up, but it was about a doctor's daughter who's in healthcare as well. And she looks pretty poor. She's done a number of videos. This is in Ireland. She was affected by the injection and didn't look in great shape at all. So you've got these pictures that look crazy. And this is what people are responding to. And also what people are responding to more and more is the children and what's coming down the pipeline more and more. And the fact that even the CDC in the US is reporting that there's been four and then 100 deaths from the from the injection. And this does even go to say of the ones that have reported the ones and the effects where they have heart inflammation, which eventually over time needed to be part of a disclaimer for people to read it. Is it happening to younger people only? And what is the inflammatory response that's happening maybe to other people, but they're not aware of it yet? And maybe many of the children are not aware of it yet. But it seems to me that they're wanting to go younger and younger. And from what I could gather around the world is this is enough. This is enough for for a number of people when things start happening to children. It's been time and time again. When a young person dies, when a young person's health is affected, they have the rest of their life that is just changes the rest of their life. Whereas people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 40s even will say, we've lived a good part of our life. And this is going to be the thing where you're going to see a number of people starting to be even rowdier and rile up for the children. For the children, they've had enough, and they don't see that as being a good thing. I mean, I knew a person who used to do embalming for people, embalming dead people, and what made him quit his job was having a child, having children to do that. And again, children, when they're so young and you feel your vulnerability plus your fear of death, then this is where things start to get at people. The younger people have not lived their lives, and some of them absolutely had an amazing future ahead of them, whether it was in sports or whether it was in their education or whatever it was. And this starts to play on people. So the fear of death still exists. That's what I think is the biggest fear here that got things going right at the get-go, and can at any time, is the fear of death. That fear of death. They say it's the number one fear for people. And I wonder why. I wonder why that is. Well, it might just be that certain religious groups have said there is no afterlife. There is no reincarnation. Whereas the earlier peoples had believed in that. So you just live wholeheartedly. So if you really think this is the end, then of course you can see how that would play on people's minds, thinking it is the end. But the end of what? Right? And you have to kind of assess, are you living? Are you living in the now? Are you living fully? Are you living in the way you should be, thinking that this fear of death is over your head or in your subconscious mind? So living fully and well is something to take note of. And the fears can go off to the side. in a way that it never did before, because we were fed that information by certain people and certain groups. So I definitely wanted to talk about that. And the other thing I wanted to, I'm going to see whatever I have up here, but the other thing I want to talk about is you and other people as well have now, whether it's in Canada or you're somewhere else, you have your politicians, your local politicians, perhaps you've got your school board trustees, you have all these people. So I'm being guided to actually create an email group. And what I want to do is on a regular, I want to say daily, send information to this group. So this would be Ford, Premier of Ontario. This would be my local MPP. I have a daughter still in high school, so the trustee, the maybe the head of the TDSB. I'm going to just put together several emails. And I'm going to ask a few people that I know who might be interested in being copied or BCC'd as like those other people on the emails that I'm going to keep drifting. Now, the reason I'm going to write these emails is from a personal, just from me. I'm not going to represent a group. I'm not going to represent anything else, but as man, as part of humanity on this planet, not just for my community, not just for my country, but for on a global standpoint, just gonna write my sense on the germ theory, the root cause of all disease. I'm gonna actually write things about, why did we ever call it social distancing? It should be physical distancing, and how distraught that can be for, just the language that's being used, and just all kinds of variety of things I'm actually going to speak about or write about in these emails. So I'm going to start that soon, probably after we have a long weekend coming up, but I want to get it set up. So things are, how I would say, things are bubbling, they're boiling in other ways, things are coming to the surface, and it is clear. If it wasn't clear before, maybe more clear now. And if it wasn't clear 10 years ago or 20 or 50 or century or so ago, to be present today and understand just how dysfunctional things have been in the world that created poor economics, that created politics, that created religion groups, that created all these other groups that seemingly are bringing the leaders together in the world, the UN, the World Health Organization, the Global Economic Forum, and any other groups that almost lead us to believe that they know better than us. The education system, there's so much dysfunctioning happened at all the levels, pulled people apart, or that they didn't hang around, or that you didn't have enough time with your children because now both parents were working hard for what? For material things, that again is the dark side of capitalism. All of these things that you have, that you learn, that doesn't give you happiness or doesn't give you feeling like you belonging and the love and the attention. I mean, people's dysfunctioning, it shows up in all the ways it does: unhappiness, drugs, sex, all the addictions, alcohol addictions, depression, all the labels of the mental illnesses. All of these things are showing up because there is a lot of, how would I say it, thinking that doesn't serve our true selves, our true nature. And this is kind of the crux of it. I did want to bring up, let me just see if there was something here that I also wanted to bring up. And then that way I can just skip. Yeah, I mean, there's a good, I'm going to post it down below, about a nurse that comes on. Stu is his name, and he has his show on Rumble, and he's had a number of really good people that talk on it. Stu Peters, and this is a nurse who's had enough. And again, I've been telling people that all this time, as things happen, it is helping people wake up more and more in their circles, in the people that they meet, their friends, their family. And as things continue on, if I mean, how can you believe things to the degree that you know? I mean, when you have that knowing because you have that full on experience like this nurse did, you really get to see how things are working. You really get to see it in its, how can I say it, travesty in some ways, what's going on in the medical care. They want to call it medical care, and in some times I want to call it harm care, because, and again, I don't really think people know enough about what's going on and know enough, or the medical's not teaching the doctors enough about how the body works, but not that you can definitively give it a pill and know how it works, but just how things work and why we have sickness to begin, which is awakening you presentation will really, again, and it's been my journey to get the truth. It's been my journey to go, what is, I'm just got this right brain and left brain going, just tell me the truth, just tell me the truth. And it's got to be simpler than what most people make it out to be. And the stages of disease, 7 stages of disease, and this is from 100 years ago, a doctor who actually, Dr. Tilden, not stepped away from medical, but on one hand, he was looking at things with a different perspective, a different attitude, because he could see things weren't working on the other hand, and he had to do it privately because of even 100 years ago, the way they were shunning doctors for their alternative and desires to kind of treat the whole body and treat the whole person and all that kind of stuff. Now it's like a lineup in 5 minutes, out 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, and there's no time. And possibly why doctors are doing that is because they don't get paid enough. And it's forcing them to do that. Or perhaps there's some rules on that they have to do that they cannot take the time to actually talk and get to know their patient. So this is, shifts and continue to shift in not a good direction. However, I do understand that people are people and they don't have to buy in 100% into their profession. They don't. So there's always going to be scenarios. It's not black and white, not black and white. So I wanted to mention about that nurse, and I'll definitely post that up. And as it goes, IAWSOM, the Academy of Universal Self-Mastery, that's going through its transition as well over the next, I guess, over the last 18 months, and its introduction. And when I'm seeing certain things come up, and then the transitions and having to change, well, that is the way things can work. Change, evolving, that's change, transforming, that's change, changing directions, that's change, seeing things differently, that's change in attitude. So change is here to stay, but somewhere in the language of our world, we have seen change as a bad thing. Flip that upside down and welcome change and understand that change is happening all the time anyway. Is happening from you're changing your clothes every day, as simple as that. But change, it has to happen. It just is. It's just part of the evolution. It's part of, not evolutions and Darwin's evolution, but the moving forward, change. So as people get to see what's going on more and more in this world, they will have a change of mind. They will have a change of heart, and there won't be so much division. As I'm in that bucket. I'm in that bucket where you could label me a few different things. Just not having had this, so there's a few labels that could come about, and whatever. I'm not going to take it personally at all. And I'm happy to speak up when need be, because, division is not fun. Division we can understand, and people are doing the best that they can. And they're coming at it from different angles from what they believe. Remember, it's not a knowing. They're believing what the leaders are saying. They're believing what the media is saying. And this is where, yes, kindness, compassion, and all of that comes into play. So that's that. I did want to talk a little bit about Awakening You. It's Monday, Tuesday. I changed it from a one night. I wanted to see how 3 hours would work, but there is some additional things I wanted to say about some of the topics if I had time. And time is time, and you never really know, because I'm often just kind of pulling things that kind of come to me in the moment as well. But it was just 3 hours and 15 minutes, 15 minutes over for a 3 hour presentation that you don't really know how long it's going to be. But there's really two key sections to it. One is learning about the body's 7 stages of disease, learning about the root cause and even going through the germ theory, and then stepping into the mind, the egoic mind, those kind of things. And then the next night, so I'm splitting out to 2 nights. On the Tuesday, October I think it's the 19th, another couple of hours and 15 minutes, something like that. Definitely going to have questions at the end. And if they go longer, they go longer. Will be on simple solutions. I can't say that enough. Simple, simple, simple solutions. In fact, the whole presentation is meant to give you simplicity on things. Simplicity is why all disease happens. Simplicity on why things are being controlled the way they are. Germ theory comes to mind for sure. And I've listened to a number of videos over the years, but just even recently, like Dr. Zach Bush, and a lengthy video, in fact. And it was supposed to talk about the root cause of disease, and it went really much into the problems in the world. Wonderful. Water, agriculture, how we got to where we got to. Certainly could add a lot more to that, as probably he could as well. The dysfunction part, yes. But the thing about it, the 7 stages, is it definitely fills in the blanks. So, a little bit of blanket statement about inflammation, as I say about inflammation or toxins, they are part of it, but you need to understand how they become the root. Like, where does that come from? And then you can understand, even yourself can figure out, well, where does my root come from? Because we're all unique. We're all unique. But the world is the place where it is right now, and it can change rather quickly in a number of things about, climate, trees and stuff. Anyway, so much there. So to plant a tree. Diana Beresford Kruger said, if everybody just planted a tree for the next 5 years, the world would be in an awesome place. But most of our oxygen comes from the ocean. So as much as I'm seeing people talk about and trying to help people, there is a lot of very simplification that can be brought into it. And I'm just going to mention that somebody I know that's dear to me, due to working in the restaurant environment, had to get her shots. And I'm just going to share this briefly so that you can tune into it and hear what she did. Because I had to ask her. She was here today. I had to ask her, and she's, yeah, I had to, because I'm in the restaurant industry, right? Rules, regulations, the owners, the founders, whatever, are being pressured. So she gets it. She doesn't wait around. You're supposed to wait around for a certain period of time, observe, so they can observe you. She went into it was a pharmacy, and she got it done, and she was out of there. She said, they can't stop me. So she went out. As soon as she went into the car, she put a mud on her where she got the shot, some mud. And then she proceeded to go through, because they did the research, and I'm very familiar with her partner, and they did their research, and it was very simple. But the idea is, there's a number of things in protocol that you can do to help remove the toxicity from your body. And, I've talked about vitamin D. I have to go into talking more about vitamin D in the Awakening You, from a standpoint of how do you build it? How can you get it naturally? And what is stopping people from getting it naturally? So vitamin D, and NAC was on there, and a whole list of things that you can do, antioxidants and so forth, that be very helpful. And in fact, you could could substitute some of the various things with antioxidants. I definitely would be doing the seal oil. I definitely would be doing chaga tea. That would be my antioxidants right there. An anti-inflammatory would be the mammalian omega-3s. But you can pick and choose different things. You can come up with a whole list of things, but there is a lot of natural things that are anti-inflammatory or whole food as well. So you can do some juicing, you can do different things. But yeah, so that was another thing. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about as well. I'm going to bring this up because I thought this was very interesting. It came in my mail, my Outlook. So once upon a time, that you're not going to be familiar with, you could go into a tech store and you could buy a box that gave you the operating system for your computer. Upload it, great, you're done. And they gave free updates. And now they're transitioning it so that you have to buy every year. You're paying a couple $100. Then you have access to updates. And I'm thinking Windows here. So I'm all hooked up with that as of last year because it was really getting hard to do certain things. And what do I have here? Microsoft Viva and Microsoft Viva, your daily briefing and your monthly digest. I'm going to turn this off, but I wanted to keep this on. It's just private to me, but this is the insights that they're getting inside of the month. Over 30% of all your collaboration seems to happen outside working hours. I guess they can tell me that working hours is 9 to 5. Not. Some find it helpful to reserve one's night a week away from work or mute notifications during your quiet. Oh, they're like telling you what to do here. Want time every day for your important tasks. Viva Insights here to help automatically schedule up to 4 hours of focus every day. This reminds me of working with that guy where the rigidity structure is in place where they tell you have to do a day has to be for you. You've got to have your business building here, and then you got your action days here. Wow, people, let's learn to think for ourselves here. And I'm not saying people don't need it, but there really is stuff going on. So what impacts your quiet hours? Meetings, 0%. Emails, 100%. Chats and calls, 0%. They know exactly what I'm doing, 6%. And even if I turn this off, you think they're not collecting information? Yeah, and focus, 94% of the time available to focus in a typical week. Yeah, and then the daily one, which I have been getting for a couple of months. I don't always look at it and usually delete it. But yeah, it tells me from commitments and follow-ups. It goes through my email messages and takes out things. Yesterday, you said we'll ship first thing tomorrow. So on this daily thing, there's a button here that says done. So in this email that I'm getting from Microsoft about my daily briefing, I can go done or remind me. Yeah, let me know, honoring Cynthia. Yeah, let me know and I will email you the changed recipe. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it goes down on several, was this helpful? Did you find this email helpful? Just getting you to respond, and getting you used to responding to what they want you to respond to. So, you know what I'm going to do? I think I can turn this off, but promotion communications, mandatory, set your contact. Yeah, so I can definitely unsubscribe to this, which I will do. But again, at the end of the day, look what this just tells you that Microsoft or any other operating system can go through your emails, go through and look for different languages and words and stuff and see different things. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So let's talk some humor. Now, usually I like to go through the book and read some first just to make sure because this is 50 years old, this book. Jokes, puns, and riddles. It's 50 years old. And I usually like to read them. Some of them I have to take a little bit. So let's just see what we have here. Historical Howlers. Yeah. Okay, so let's just see what's here. All right. Kind of reading over. Where should I start here? All right. When is a piece of wood like a king? When is a piece of wood like a king? When it is made into a ruler. Sue, I'm taking ancient history. Lou, so am I. Let's get together and talk over old times. Question, for how long a period of time did Cain hate his brother? As long as he was able. Who was the biggest bandit in history? Who was the biggest bandit in history? Atlas. He held up the world. One more here. Why did the pioneers cross the country in covered wagons? Because they didn't want to wait 40 years for a train or 100 years for a plane. I'm going to read this next one because it reminds me of the upcoming long weekend or harvest celebration, Thanksgiving, if we can call it that. If April showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring? Pilgrims. Pilgrims. So it's a lovely pilgrims. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to finish off this. This means I've read the whole page. Where did the Pilgrim Fathers stand when they landed on Plymouth Rock? Where did the Pilgrim Fathers stand when they landed on Plymouth Rock? On their feet. On their feet. That's where they stood. Anyway, humor's humor, and I will say it again. More, whether you do or you don't, it's obviously your choice, but, fear into fun, move fear into fun, and bring fun more and more into your day again, because we have been, a lot of people are just watching the news, rightfully so. We've been programmed to watch the news, although I really haven't myself. But the idea is put that thing away, put whatever that thing is away that doesn't feel so good. And it's giving you messages that don't make you feel good anymore. Much that's going on isn't going to, how can I say, you're not missing out on anything. That's what I'm going to say. You've got lots before us. We all have lots before us to do. And I know I'm creating wonderful distractions, although I'm really loving this marigold and sauerkraut and all those other things. But yeah, so what can you do to have some fun? Have some fun. So I'm going to end up for now and going to say, thank you for joining me at Cheryl Millett, your host at Live at 5. And until next time, Live at 5 Mondays, just going to try to keep with that. If something really happens grand, then I will come on and do another Live at 5, most definitely. In the meantime, have fun. Enjoy your evening. Until next time, bye for now.